You know, I like Diet Coke. Some say too much. Some say Diet Coke is bad for you, but I'll keep drinking it until they make a sequel. Are sequels coming too late? I like movies. I like when there's more of a movie than the original movie. Continuation, if you will. But as I see trailer after trailer after trailer for movie sequels, it makes me wonder, when did that original movie even come out? Did Avatar really come out in 2012? Wow. That's a crazy long time ago. Just kidding, it came out in 2009. Do you feel old yet? I think we need to talk about what a sequel is before we get started. I would say a sequel is a continuation of a work of fiction, usually with the same characters in the same setting or universe. When looking into sequels, we can look as far back as like Homer's The Odyssey, which was a sequel to the Iliad using the same characters in the same setting. In terms of the distance between these two, that's kind of hard to say. It looks like historically speaking, they were both written down roughly around the same time. Perfect amount of time. So when Alexander the OK was conquering worlds, we didn't have to wait until he became Alexander the Great before he could hear what happened next. Film-wise, we have many spiritual sequels which involve testing camera capabilities with shorts like The Little Train Robbery, which followed The Great Train Robbery. According to Turner Classic Movies, the first movie sequel was The Fall of the Nation, which was a sequel to Birth of a Nation. This film was a propaganda film for the KKK, which was considered to be a lost film. Maybe that's a good thing. The first numbered sequel was Sanshiro Sugata Part 2 by Akira Kurosawa, being a sequel to Sanshiro Sugata. In terms of the distance between the original and the original came out in 1943, with its sequel coming out in 1945. I feel like that's a good space between original and sequel. It's still fresh in people's minds and people get excited about them. If we look at this another way, Disney's Bambi came out in 1942. Hey, that's pretty close in the timeline to Sanshiro Sugata. So that had 3 years between original and sequel. What are we looking for Bambi 2? Like 1946? No, maybe 1950? Oh gosh, even longer? Maybe 1973? Disney's Bambi 2 is a sequel to the original Bambi film, which sees Bambi reuniting with his father, the Great Prince, which came out in 2006, creating a 63-year gap between the original and the sequel. Gosh, I wonder how many people were born and died between Bambi and its sequel. Probably a lot. To my knowledge, not a single original cast or crew member was used in the production of Bambi 2, besides some archival lines that were used sparingly. So clearly sequels can take a long time to come out. But the real question is, should they? Because lately we've seen a rise in a very specific kind of sequel, legacy sequels. These are sequels that take place years and years after the original story. The stars are the same characters. You can think of these like Top Gun Maverick, which came out 36 years after the original and looked as a way to re-spark the Top Gun energy years after. I would also add movies like Creed and Blade Runner in there, although we might be able to assign a different label to these later. They still keep the same vibe and history that goes with that movie. You can take a movie like Creed. Creed might not be thought of as a legacy sequel due to it being largely a new cast of characters. Why this works as a sequel is it is a continuation of the Rocky franchise, and it doesn't ignore the world's events, even that stupid robot. You could argue that Creed is a sidequel or a soft reboot, but it is a legacy sequel to Rocky, as Rocky gets to pass his legacy down to someone new who shares space in the world of the Rocky films, even if we don't know it at the time of Rocky. Where this is different is in movies like requels. Requels are movies that are sequels to a movie in one form or another that act both as a reboot and a sequel. We can think of movies like Halloween 2017, which abandoned the continuity from Halloween 2, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, Halloween 4 The Return of Michael Myers, Halloween 5 The Revenge of Michael Myers, Halloween H2O 20 years later, Halloween Resurrection, Rob Zombie's Halloween, and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. You know, it might have been easier to tell you the movies that were in continuity to 2017 Halloween. It was the original Halloween movie, just the original. The one from 1978. Another example would be Terminator Dark Fate, which acted as a requel by choosing to kill off an essential character and instead use a new savior of the universe as the hunted character. This film follows the continuity of The Terminator and Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and it leaves out Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, Terminator Salvation, and Terminator Genesis. Now, why do certain franchises decide to do this? Well, A requel can offer you a clean slate for your movie's characters without opening up like plot holes and questions. You know Fast and the Furious? You know how every movie has someone becoming part of the family, and that causes the cast every movie to grow bigger and bigger because narratively speaking, John Cena now has to be there? Oh, I guess spoilers. If Halloween never requeled, we would have a million Michael Myers siblings and messy writing. Well, I never said requels were always perfect. The speed round, sequels that came out embarrassingly fast. Not all sequels take forever though. Some come out so fast it's almost offensive in the other direction. Twilight New Moon and Twilight Eclipse had 202 days apart. Back to the Future 2 and 3 had 184 days apart. The Matrix Reloaded and The Matrix Revolutions, 173 days apart. 173 days! That's less than 6 months. That's less than a baby's amount of time. Animated versus live action. Doesn't matter? Here's something worth noting. Animated sequels tend to take longer, sometimes way longer than the live action ones do. This happens for a couple of reasons. The first would be that animation just takes way longer to finish. Once you know a movie is a hit, then you need to quickly get a movie into production. One of the quickest examples is Pixar's Toy Story and Toy Story 2. Toy Story came out in 1995, with its sequel coming out just 4 years later in 1999. For animation's sake, that's a pretty quick turnaround. Frozen, Moana, Zootopia all took years to come out afterwards, where movies like Hunger Games, Catching Fire, through Mockingjay Part 2 came out before Frozen got a sequel. The entire Fantastic Beasts franchise came out between Moana and its sequel, and both It movies came out before Zootopia got a sequel. Sometimes this is done on purpose though. Finding Nemo came out in 2003. Finding Dory came out in 2016. You can't tell me that Pixar didn't greenlight Finding Dory because they thought that maybe the kids who were 7 to 10 when Finding Nemo came out might have kids of their own. So they'll take their whole family to Finding Dory to experience their childhood. It's perfect! So, are sequels coming out too late? Yes. But no? Let me explain. What I've come to realize is it really depends. Not on whether it's a legacy sequel or a requel, not on whether it's animated or live action, not even really on how large the gap is. It depends on why it exists. A sequel that takes its time to tell a story worth telling. Maverick. Creed. Blade Runner 2049. The gap made sense. The gap was the point. It was almost baked into the story itself. But a sequel, legacy or requel, a lot of the times that's just a studio looking for an old IP and going, hey, people like this one, right? Just ship it. Go, 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 go. That's when the gap just feels like neglect. Like they found the original in a storage unit and decided to charge admission. And look, there's probably a sweet spot timeline wise, like somewhere in that like 2 to 5 year range. Your audience hasn't fully moved on, but enough time has passed that people have actually found and loved the original. It stays alive in the cultural zeitgeist. Spider-Man, The Dark Knight, Jurassic Park, these lived in people's minds rent free, and when the sequel showed up, people showed up too. But even that's not really a rule. It's just a pattern. The real question was never how long did they wait? It was always, did they have something worth saying? Because audiences aren't stupid. We know the difference. We know when something was crafted with care or when it was a lazy cash grab dressed up in nostalgia. But no matter how long they wait, no matter how messy the timeline gets, if Hollywood brings something back, taps into a brand, the familiarity, the feeling of being a kid in a dark theater, I'll probably still watch it.